Have you ever sat and asked yourself, what if BioShock Infinite sucked? Well, we've got the answer to that today. Adrian's going to update us on his Kerbal Space Program 2 adventures. Timestamps down below. Let's get rolling.
Sweet. So, yeah, BioShock Infinite is a terrible game. We're talking about Atomic Heart.
What a hot load. My God.
I am angry at how bad this fucking game is.
So, some of you may know, Atomic Heart recently came out on Game Pass. Thank God it came out on Game Pass. And I 100% recommend that if you are going to try this game, please do not spend the money on it and just try it on Game Pass.
Yeah, actually, we had mentioned this before on the podcast at one point. I know I did. This is one of those rare situations where if for some reason you feel compelled to try this game, for the love of God, subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate for a month to try it, because you will be so happy you didn't waste your money. Yeah. There are people that are saying this is a good game. I can't imagine what the hell they're thinking.
Yeah.
So why don't you lead off with the stuff that you were talking about?
Yeah, so I gave this a go basically on the launch day, and after slogging through what is by far and away probably the most boring frickin' intro sequence to a game I have ever endured. It was literally...
And longest.
And longest, yeah. It was like literally 35 to 40 minutes long.
Something like that.
And the only kind of gameplay that you have in this section is you are literally walking.
Yeah.
And you are stuck in a frickin' paddle boat for a good 10 minutes of the game, just listening to people around you talk and whatever. And you're talking to your little glove thing, and you're seeing all this crap floating around, all these little flying islands, which we'll talk a little bit more about later.
Yeah.
And then from this paddle boat section, you are forced into like just walking to another pre-selected area, eventually getting to a tower. That you go to the tower, you go all the way up to the top floor to get a key to a frickin' car, and then go all the way back down, get in the car, and then you're stuck in a flying sequence. A really freaking long flying sequence.
Crazy long.
Insanely long. Yeah. And then the proverbial shit hits the fan. And then, you're thinking to yourself, hey, yes, I can finally play the game. And yeah, you kind of do. You kind of do. You get a brief glimpse and a small little taste of just how crappy the melee combat is.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is most of what you're going to be doing in the game. So, full disclosure, I played the game for about 45 minutes to an hour, which means I played for maybe 10 minutes. Chad, you played further than I did, but still only a few hours.
Yeah.
So we have experienced the game, but we have not beaten the game, or God, I'm never going to, because why the hell would you?
Yeah.
So some of what we're talking about has come from reviews online. Certainly the bulk of it is from our first-hand experience, but I wanted to be clear, we have not played through the entire game. So my understanding is that because ammo is very rare in the game, most of the time you are going to be using essentially melee combat, and God, it's terrible. So
so that really puzzled me, because when you start the game, you're literally surrounded by dead soldiers.
Yeah.
So like, okay, it's one thing to find a convenient fire axe, just kind of leaning up against a pole or something. Like, great, okay, that's lucky, I guess, right? Well, but none of these soldiers had a pistol in their frickin' holster or a gun laying around anywhere.
Well, it's so much worse than that, because like the entire so let's backtrack a little bit here. So the game is set in an alternate present/future where the Soviets won World War II. They discovered limitless energy, or AI that then discovered limitless energy, or whatever. They have AI and they have just crazy amounts of energy. So flying cities, flying gadgets, flying TV screens, everything, all of this stuff, and yet there's somehow a fire axe kicking around. It's like something tells me if you've got all this technology, you probably don't have a lot of fire axes just sitting around. I wouldn't. you know, at least give me like a billy club or something instead of a fucking fire axe. Like, who the hell thought that was an appropriate weapon?
Yeah.
So anyways, you pick this up. First thing I do, there's a pig running around. And because I'm a bit of a sadist when it comes to these games, first thing I do is kill the pig. It took like 6 fucking swings with the axe. It wasn't. I think it was 4. But still, it's like, you're like an old man with this axe. You're slow. It doesn't do much damage. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And then, so you get to play for, I'm going to say 30, 45 seconds.
Yeah, you literally walk down a street, you maybe fight 3 or 4 robots, which it takes 4 to 6 hits to kill a pig, and it takes 2 hits to kill these freaking robots.
Yeah.
Makes perfect
weird
sense with a fire axe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you like literally you walk down the street, make a left, and you're boom forced into another uninteractable cutscene.
Yeah, and so that's actually, that cutscene is as far as I made it into the game. So that gives you an idea of how much I played this game. I did log back in shortly. I played a few more minutes just to give it another shot, but like that's basically where I rage quit the game. And there was a handful of reasons. So on my list of things that destroy games, unskippable cutscenes that are too long, which are criminally irresponsible in video games. Video games are not movies. They are never movies unless they're full motion videos like Her Story and Immortality. Not being able to jump, which during the entire introductory sequence for 40 minutes, you cannot jump. You can eventually jump. You can't run, but you can jump. And the game stealing agency from you playing the way that you want. And this was actually, we haven't actually talked since we first talked about Hogwarts, and I'm actually going to talk about Hogwarts in a little bit too, because it had some of these problems as well. But the first thing you get to do in this game, you approach this outhouse, which has a robot in it, which is obviously going to attack you. It's still there. It's going to attack you. Yeah. Instead of hitting it with your axe, you are forced by the game into this stupid cutscene where I'm not sure why you're looking down the shitter hole of an outpost in the first place, but that's what the cutscene is.
So there was a bunch of bodies down there.
Yeah, but why are you investigating that? Like, it didn't make any sense to do that in the first place. And then meanwhile, instead of like yanking the robot out of it or hitting it with the axe or anything else, no, just gingerly move its leg aside. And then of course it attacks you. Yeah. And you're forced into this, the robot's choking me out and everything else. I rage quit. I was like, this is the dumbest game I've ever played. Yeah. Literally the dumbest game I have ever played. And I cannot imagine anyone getting past that point in the game without just feeling that it was complete garbage.
I did. I mean, I thought it was garbage.
I was going to say, you kept playing it.
I kept playing it, but yeah, like the second you hit the interact button, which is right bumper on the Xbox.
Yeah.
The second you hit that, you're in this cutscene. And it's like, I get what you're saying. Like me personally, it's like, yeah, open the door. Oh, there's a robot there. Well, clearly it's an enemy. Hack, right?
Of course.
But once you get stuck into that cutscene, you're again forced into like a ridiculously long, and this is like a developer trick for like loading and shit. So they prolong certain things so that it goes on for like an extended period of time. So you're going on this descent into this freaking elevator, and it's just taking forever until you finally get into this bunker, again surrounded by dead soldiers, and conveniently enough not a single fucking one of them has a gun
or a knife or anything that would make sense.
Fucking like, so here you are carrying around this axe, good old trusty axe. I mean, you finally do get a gun. It's a shotgun, but you only get like a limited, like I think you have 7 rounds or something in it.
By the way, you're surrounded by future meta materials, but the axe has a wooden handle. Just FYI.
Yeah. I got a bit further in until I encountered the vending machine that raped my character.
Yeah.
I kid you not. This vending machine talks way overly sexual.
Yeah.
About what it's doing to you. I'm not going to repeat it because there's no point, but it's just weird. This machine gives you upgrades after you hack it.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I don't like that.
So I think that that's actually why some people are giving it good ratings, is because it like appeals to their fetish, and I'm not gonna judge that, right? Like, if that is what you want out of a game, that's fine. But that is not what this game was sold as. That's not what it was advertised for as, and it's not what they claim it to be. If they had said like, "Hey, we made a robo-porn game," I'd been like, cool, I'm not gonna play that.
Yeah.
And also it wouldn't have made it on Game Pass. But that's not what they said they did. They said they made an open world RPG, which it's mostly not. It's terrible. You have no agency. From the very open of the game, your character is just a whiny dickhead who's arguing with his AI glove, which for some reason that part of the AI doesn't turn evil. I'm not quite sure why it doesn't, but it's all, there is no redeeming quality to this game.
Yeah.
And the voice acting, which was what you actually, so the reason I played this game, Chad sent me, I had no intention of playing it. I hadn't heard of it. I knew nothing about it. But Chad sent me a message talking about how bad the game was, and specifically calling out the fact that like the voice acting is just atrocious, and it is. And the scripting and everything is just atrocious. Yeah. So I picked it up from Game Pass because I don't care about that stuff. I legitimately do not care if the voice acting in a game is bad or anything else. It doesn't impact my experience. So I was like, I'm going to be the devil's advocate. I'm going to download this game. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to be like, I don't care about any of what you just said. Show me the good parts of the game.
Well, fuck you, guy.
just for the sake of balance, right?
Yeah.
Just so that you could come in and rant, and I would be like, all of that is true. You're 100% right, but the combat is good. No redeeming qualities. This game is garbage.
It was funny because Chad sent that message, and like an hour and a half later, Adrian sends this wall of text, and it's just the angriest text message from him I've ever seen.
And I mean, to be fair, for the most part, that's usually how our relationships worked. Whereas, like, if I had an issue with something, you would always come in as like the yin to my yang or whatever, saying like, yeah, okay, but
yeah.
So there was always that kind of argument, but this is like, there isn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like to try and figure out, like even in the Nintendo episode, which we just aired last week, I like to try and find the, like, yeah, what they're doing is super stupid and everything else. But if you frame it in this light, you can see why they got there.
Yeah.
And you struggled even with that one too.
Yeah, I couldn't find it for Nintendo either. But okay, this is my response after Chad. So Jesus fucking Christ, you weren't kidding. Atomic Heart is unplayable bullshit. I'm actually a little angry that a sizable number of people clearly gave the go-ahead to launch what an obvious steaming pile of shit.
Yeah.
And that was after I downloaded the game specifically to find the good parts.
Yeah, because the thing that bugged me, like, I know you said it didn't bother you, but if I'm playing a game in an alternate Russia, like, even if the main character, the voice actor for the main character is basically the same guy that did the voice work for V in Cyberpunk. Sounds exactly the same. Okay, so you're a Russian soldier or whatever, and you're walking around and you're talking like this. Hey, glove. Hey, give me. And he's a whiny bitch too. Eh?
That was what bothered me, was the fact I hate when games force me to play a character that's not the sort of character I would ever play. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, and just all of everybody sounded American. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, man, like, just that tiny little bit of immersion, like, even if they all talk like this, and it's still in English, but you can tell that they're Russian, just even that little freaking bit of immersion to, like,
any sort of Slavic accent. Really,
like there is like everywhere you look, on every freaking sign you see on these huge, like, on the huge building that you walk into at the beginning, it's all in Russian, like, Russian text.
Cyrillic,
yeah. And you look at it, and then, of course, the little English pop-up comes up over top of it, blocking it all, saying, like, this is what it says in English. It's like, oh, okay, that's not what it says, but you get my drift.
Yeah,
but, like, just the immersion, I wasn't it didn't immerse me in it because one, like I said, the main character sounds like a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, so I want to say a couple things here. First of all, they offer different language packs. If you play it in Russian, I am told that it is, obviously appropriate because it's Russian.
Yeah.
I think that either they have said that they're going to add a mode, or somebody has made it so you can, or maybe it just out of the box. Although you said you couldn't do this. Being able to set it to Russian language, but then English subtitles would probably work.
I didn't see an option for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure it exists because they're in different language packs, so I don't think there's any way to mix them. But they could add a way to do that, and that would help with immersion. I also want to say that despite the fact that I don't care about this, I am in the minority. Most people I was reading from reviews and otherwise agreed with you, Chad, 100%. The only reason I said that was because it doesn't bother me. I'm in the minority here, but it doesn't bother me. So I was like, cool. I'm going to go in and I'm going to ignore all the things that you just said because I don't care. And I'm going to find the good No, there's no good stuff.
Yeah.
But you are absolutely right. Like, I noticed that it was terrible, and it is. It's atrociously bad. Like, they could have just had some Russian people who speak English, of which there are a few, do the vocals, right?
Yep.
Like, there was no reason to do it the way that they did it.
And considering even like they didn't change the radio stations in the car to English language radio at all. They were all still in Russian, like it would be in the Russian version of that. And
Yeah. The other thing, like we talked about, I talked a little bit about it with the axe, but basically you're presented with this backstory of how the world came to be and how the Soviet Union solved AI and energy, and it's this glorious paradise and everything else. And then immediately after the intro, because you're just starting to think, you're like, oh, that's kind of a cool world. Okay, it's propaganda and everything else, but like, there's lots of American propaganda games. That's fine. I can rock on. Immediately after the intro, none of that really exists anymore, and it's all just like robosex stuff, which like, again, like, no judgment if that's your thing, rock on, but that is not what the game was sold as.
I also found too, because I just sat on the couch with Chad watching him play, and I found all of that, the propagandist type stuff in there. Wasn't presented very well.
It was very clumsy.
It was just info dumping, but there wasn't anything to grab your attention for it. So I kept finding myself spacing out. And I'm one that loves lore and backstory to everything. And I just was like, this is not presented in a way that's interesting in any way. Like, even if it was just some dumb slideshow or something, just something to grab your attention, there was nothing.
It could have been a 1-minute video that explained it better, and would have been much more engaging.
Like, even a lot of the architecture in the floating cities, which, by the way, the trailer kind of, what a tease that is, because throughout the entire intro, that's all you're going to see, those floating cities.
Yeah.
So,
well, again, we have not played through the game, but based on what I read from others, essentially you're shown this gorgeous futuristic city and everything else, and then it's like, okay, forget everything we just did and talked about. Now you're gonna be stuck in small claustrophobic levels, a lot of it indoors, and yes, it's technically open world, but not really, because none of that matters. Now, that's one place that I will play devil's advocate on. I think their goal, this is what I was saying at dinner and stopped myself, I think the goal with the open world, to be fair to them, was to leave themselves a lot of room for DLC in the future.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think their goal was to provide a main quest and then later backfill it with DLC.
Yeah.
Problem is, I can't imagine anyone actually caring to go back and play it.
Yeah.
So
and going back to the like the immersion bit of it, like even like the architecture in the game, like on the, like, holy cripes, there is so many statues, like just oversized huge statues of people. And
I mean,
that's also
kinda,
Russia.
no, but you know what I mean though, like it's like it's everywhere, and I'm just like, okay, great. And like, if you could walk up to it and just be like, oh, this is so and so and blah 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 blah, it's like, oh, okay, well, that, all right, cool.
Yeah, well, that's kind of,
you don't get that.
No, that's kind of what I mean about the it's open world but it's not, is like everything I looked at and everything I read about it, because again, I only played it a little bit after I rage quit. That's exactly the problem, is like most games that are open world RPGs, even things like Hogwarts Legacy, you go and explore, and you can find little nooks and crannies that are cool, and they have little Easter eggs about like maybe a plaque that talks about the first AI revolt or something. None of that. There doesn't appear to be anything in terms of like story except the clumsy bit of exposition that it talks about in the first little bit of the game when you're too bored to listen.
You find a few audio logs here and there that just when the machines revolted and all that stuff, and there is some like on some computer terminals you can read like emails and stuff, but
yeah,
by that point, after slogging through a 45 minute freaking intro sequence and 3 unskippable cutscenes where I had no agency, it's like I don't care. I really just want to play this fucking game.
Did you see those yourself?
Like, yeah, I looked at them,
when we played The Division, we both really liked those sort of things in The Division when that first came out. How would you say they compared to that?
They didn't.
No?
They were just emails. Some of them referenced the old lady that you run into at the outhouse, and just like who she was and whatever. And then the other ones are just like, oh, keep this person in quarantine, blah blah blah, and just.
It doesn't add anything to flavor the world.
That's the impression I got from reading what other people had written on the subject, was like, yeah, there's some backfill, but it's not really to like richen the story. It's more to like, hey, we didn't bother explaining what was going on at the time, so if you care, we added some backstory so that you can kind of retroactively understand what happened to you.
Yeah.
What I'd be interested in is like, give me like a data store, give me a museum that I can walk into that has like holographic like narratives that explain the way that the how the war ended and everything. Give me something.
That's funny you say that, because in Horizon Forbidden West, there's literally a museum with leftover holographs. That's part of how you learn about the war before everything went away. So
rock on.
Yeah.
And they could have done that here. Yeah. Like, it would have been 100% appropriate for the world and everything else. Yeah.
Well,
and appropriate for like the Soviet Union, like the way that it would have evolved. The same as like the giant statues and everything else. Like, they would have created a thing. It would have been, propagandized and everything else, because like, even apart from, I think the game was a little propagandized, but also just in keeping with the way the Soviet Union worked, it would be propagandized. But like, that's cool. Give me that. Add to the immersion, add to the backstory, make it cool. None of that shit. The combat sucked. The movement sucked. The world sucked. The graphics weren't even that good. People were shitting themselves about the graphics, which, to be fair, what they showed a year or two ago when they had all the ray tracing turned on and the RTX stuff turned on, looked better than what they actually released. But during the one cutscene one of the cutscenes where the guy gets knocked down, like his beard hair is like faded on my PC at least, and I had the settings at ultra. Beard hair was like phasing in and out of reality because they was clipped badly, and it's like this is within the first like 2 minutes of actual playtime.
Yeah.
These graphics aren't good.
Yeah. And this is why I compare it to BioShock Infinite. And I say, right off the bat, because I wasn't immersed in Atomic Heart, like because of the setting, the voice acting on, and just forced, you're not actually playing it, it sucked me out of it almost right away. Whereas BioShock Infinite had that charm and that mystery of like, okay, what's so special about this girl, and like, holy crap, how can she do that? And then just how that evolved, like it made you want to keep playing. Like this, I didn't want to keep playing it at all. Like I literally, like when I finished that intro and I got to the street, I shut the damn thing off because I turned to Sarah and I said, I'm done. Like I can't, I'm gonna have to come back to this, because I literally just slogged through like 40 minutes of fucking bullshit.
Narratively, it didn't give you any stakes.
No.
There was no reason for you to care that the AI had just gone rogue.
No.
Other than the fact that it was trying to kill you. It's like, cool, well, yeah, you made the cutscene try and kill me, but as a player, I don't care.
No.
Like, I don't care that it's going rogue. I don't even understand where it came from in the first place. I don't understand how it works or anything else, or how I'm supposed to fight against it with a fire axe. Like, you've given me no reason to care about what you're telling me to do.
Yeah, and if we're going to continue with the comparisons with BioShock Infinite, you don't have that right away either. Like, it's a job for him to go and get this girl.
Sure.
And the stakes to save your life build as you're going through the game. Like, you don't have them right away, but as people start going crazy and start attacking you, that's where your stakes come from. But it doesn't just happen all of a sudden for no reason whatsoever, I think, in the same way.
But Columbia was immersive. Like,
yes.
In Infinite, the world of Columbia was immersive. Like, walking down the street and seeing the barbershop quartet just appear on a floating platform singing. It's like, oh shit. And then you stop and you listen to them sing, and it's incredible. Like, they were, I think they basically did barbershop versions of like popular songs. So I think there was a Billy Joel song in there somewhere at one point, if I recall. I can't remember. But like things like that, like it's like, oh crap, okay, that was cool. And then you keep walking and you see like little hints of things from like that time period that the developers put into the game. So yeah, some of it is a little risque, but
sure.
But yeah, it made it look like the utopia they said it was.
Yeah.
And then it showed its dark underbelly with time.
It was a proper game with like open world stakes where like I don't consider it particularly open world at all, but like it had the same charm as you if you pushed the edge a little bit, there was stuff to discover. With this, if you pushed the edge a little bit, there was bullet sponge enemies that added nothing to the overall story.
Yep.
I have not been this angry about, like, I'm not angry that I played the game. I'm angry that the game exists. Like, this game, actually, the fact that it got released pisses me off because it means that there is a large group of people, all of whom lack even a touch of common sense.
Yeah.
Nobody in that group at any time said, hey guys, we're about to release just literally the worst game that's ever been made. Maybe we shouldn't. And that scares me a little. Like, that's really bad.
I mean, yeah.
It bothers me.
It's right up there with the release of Cyberpunk when it first came out too. It's the corporate greed of pushing something out when it's not ready, or just thinking this is enough.
Well, so not ready would be one thing.
Yeah.
Like, if it was not ready, I would have been like, okay, cool. Like, I can forgive that. Like, Cyberpunk, when it came out, it's like, this is a train wreck. They're idiots for releasing it. But, like, you could tell what it was trying to be.
Yeah.
This game is finished. It's not like it was buggy. It just isn't a game. It's a steaming turd.
It's not interesting.
Like,
it's not interesting at all.
If I worked in a game company, I don't care if I'm the janitor. If I worked in a game company and I find out that a game that's about to be released starts with a 40-minute cutscene, I will take an axe to the servers to prevent it being released. Like,
but would it be a fire axe with a wooden handle?
It would.
How many swings would it take?
Just the one. I'd be really angry. Like, it is unacceptable that many people were involved in a product that got released that starts as terribly as that game. Forget the rest of the game, which is also crap. Just the fact that got released is inexcusable.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of, God, I can't even think of another game that I played recently that just had a mundane and boring intro. And I honestly can't.
Not that bad.
Like a lot of, no, not that bad.
No.
Like, I know, oh God.
I mean, I thought the Hogwarts Legacy intro was too long. And it was like a minute or two. It wasn't that bad.
The cutscene, yeah, but that ended. That was, but that was still kind of an explosive ending there too.
Well, that's the thing. There was at least some like
payoff.
It was action and there was payoff and everything else. And even then, I was like, this is too long. Can I skip it? Because I'm like, I don't really care. Especially on a second playthrough, you'd be like, fuck off. Mm-hmm. I thought that was too long. Mm-hmm. It was a minute or two. Yeah. This game, like, unacceptable. Mm-hmm. But Hogwarts also did the slightly more sensible thing where it wasn't most of the sort of cutscene stuff. Some of it was, but most of it was like intermixed with actual, like, sort of video. Most of it was game engine, but it had like some extra zhuzhing. Part of my problem was that the game, it was just so very obvious that you were in the game engine. Like, I would have rathered a video cutscene. Because, like, like I was trying to look around at the floating cities as you were flying through, and it kept like snapping my view back, and it's like, no, you're supposed to be looking forward. It's like, fuck off, let me.
There's
look where I
nothing
want.
to see looking forward.
Nothing.
Clouds?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ridiculous bullshit. If you think we're talking out of our ass and you actually liked the game, please do tell us why. I'm not trying to judge anyone. I went in looking for something redeeming about this game and found nothing.
I'm gonna put this one into the file of yet another game that I was really looking forward to that just completely failed to meet expectations. It's
Horribly
just
badly.
dog shit.
Yeah.
Just dog shit.
True shit.
And again, let me reiterate: do not spend $100 on this game. Okay, just do what Adrian said earlier. Get Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, because then that way, if you have a decent PC at home, you got your PC. If you got an Xbox Series X, great.
Rock on.
And then 21, however much it is for Game Pass Ultimate for a month. That's like still going to be 3/4 less than what you would pay for this game.
And then you could go download an actually good game and have more fun.
But
that's the ticket.
Please do not fucking buy this game.
Yeah, you can download this, find out it's horrible, and then with the rest of your month, you can play High on Life or something else, which is like
amazing games.
Yeah.
High on Life was
It's fun.
High on Life was fun.
It was fun.
That was fun.
I don't know that I'd go amazing, but it was fun. It was a good game.
Or you could download Powerwash Simulator, because tomorrow the new Midgar DLC comes out, and you can help clean up Midgar.
Yay.
And make the Buster Sword pretty and shiny again.
Yeah.
Tomorrow being yesterday, which would be Friday.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
We're in the future. The past.
I was counting forward from the last previous...
yes, we're in the past.
That's right.
For you. You're in the future.
I've been playing... Well, I played through a chunk of Powerwash Simulator. I had not gotten around to it, but Sarah had mentioned it. I think it was when the Tomb Raider DLC came out. I was like, I should really grab that. Again, Game Pass. Shout out.
Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, well, I don't know if it's fun. It's
relaxing.
It's something.
Yeah, it stimulates the good parts of your brain.
It's fulfilling.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know that I would call it fun, but it is fulfilling. So.
Well, you know what stimulated the good parts of my brain and was fun for me?
What's that?
Going through and playing the Metroid Prime Remaster on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, you said you finished that up. Eh?
Yeah, my God, man. I love that game when it came out on GameCube, and when they did this remaster, holy crap, did they do this right? So visually, yes, everything is improved. It runs really, really, really good. They give you a variety of control options, so you could do like the classic GameCube style that they had. But man, playing Metroid Prime with twin stick controls, holy fuck, does it make the game so much easier to control. So before, it was just literally your one stick would turn and move forward and stuff, but then you'd have to hold one of the trigger buttons to aim around, but you'd be stuck in place, right? Like that was the GameCube version of it, because you'd use the D-pad to change between your different visors, and then the C-stick would change between your different guns. So they made it dual stick. My only beef with the remaster is when you have a charge beam, and normally you'd fire like one button press would be pew, pew, pew. Well, they made it so that when you hit it once, if you hit it and hold it, your gun will do like a 3-shot burst and then charge.
Oh.
And I hate that.
That's weird.
I hate that.
That is weird.
I really, really wish they would patch that out and just give an option so you don't have to do that, because it really fucks up a lot of the combat. Like there's certain enemies where I'll say these they're called wave pirates. They're space pirate that you get a wave gun, and their suit is purple, obviously, like the wave trooper is what they're called. Sorry, but they're weak to that gun. So if you charge a shot and hit them, they'll be like stunned and electrocuted.
All right.
But when in the GameCube version, you fire and then you just hang on to the button again, and it would charge again. And by the time it charges up, it's just coming out of being stunned, and you fire it, and then the second shot kills them.
Okay.
Well, because it instantly fires another shot, it fucks up your timing, so that by the time it's charged, he's already unstunned and he's fucked off. So it's like, oh shit. So you have to like kind of relocate.
Yeah, that sounds like an intentional choice to make it more difficult.
Well, I mean, it's not really that difficult. It was
Just more of an annoyance.
It's just annoying. Like, it's really annoying. It sounds like it's a quality of life update that there should have been an option for in like an accessibility section.
I find most video games equate difficulty to annoyingness. Like the difficulty slider in most games or options, I find 90% of the time it just changes how annoying the game is to play. So those are the same to me.
So yeah, that was my fun for the past little bit. But tell me, Adrian, how is your space program going in KSP2?
I have murdered so many Kerbals.
Excellent.
Yeah. No, it's going well. So I posted a short video. So if for some reason you haven't seen it, when I posted the quick tips video, I did not send it out to subscribers because I assume most of our podcast listeners probably don't care about KSP2 quick tips. But if you are playing KSP2 and you haven't seen it, check it out. One of the tips is super important. It's about enabling graphics workers, and it'll make your game run, in my case, 20% faster. So get that.
The video showed those results too.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes.
I included proof of it in the so I mean, I've been thoroughly enjoying it. I've been mostly enjoying it.
It's an early access mode.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm gonna rag on some of the content creators that I actually really respect. So Scott Manley did a decent job.
I'm sorry, I just wish I had some popcorn for this.
So there was a handful of creators that posted streaming, like stream play and everything else, and most of them fucked it up pretty badly. and these are people that I respect and everything else. And I'm not saying that my like hour and a half of streaming was, the gold standard by any means, but simple things like the number of
I don't know. You did make an X-Wing.
I tried. Actually, the X-Wing turned out okay.
Yeah.
It was the TIE Fighter that sucked.
The TIE Fighter was so good.
The TIE Fighter didn't work so well.
No.
I could have done better with some extra time. But the number of videos that are out there right now that talk about like, oh, you can't like see how much fuel is in your tanks and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you just open the resource manager. It's a button that you click, and then it shows you how much, and you can transfer fuel and everything else.
Who would think that fuel is a resource?
Right? like there was a bunch of stuff that people had put out that I feel like they just didn't explore the game at all before they posted. And to be fair, there was the early look stuff where a bunch of them got brought out to Europe by the ESA to do like a early preview of the early access. So it was the same game, but they got it a few days ahead to play with it on like screaming fast computers, and they could record and everything, which is cool. Kudos to ESA to do that, for doing that and everything else. Super great. And those videos, there was a lot of that sort of like, oh, this doesn't seem like I can't do this or whatever. And it's like, okay, cool. You're on an unfamiliar computer. You've got a time limit for this. Like I get those videos are a little sketchy. But then there are follow-up streams when these same content creators like got hold of the game in early access. A bunch of them went live, and they're still like not finding these options, and they're talking about, oh, this feature doesn't exist yet. And it's like, yes, it does. It absolutely does. Just click the fucking button. So like I wasn't sure I was gonna go live because I was having a lot of trouble, keeping rockets stable and everything else, and it took me a little while to figure out workarounds for all of the many bugs in the game, but I figured it out and went live later that night so that I had some clue how to play. And clearly I was one of the few that did that, because so many of the videos that were out in the first 48 hours are pretty bad. Like they're entertaining, but in terms of actual like gameplay and everything else, they're pretty atrocious. So yeah, but I mean, I respect all of those creators. I love their content. It just struck me as odd that they even got the preview and they couldn't manage to like click the fucking button.
Yeah.
So anyways, if you're watching this and being like, wait, how the hell do I do that? Just check again the KSP2 tips in under 90 seconds. I posted it a few days ago, and I go through most of the important bits. but I've been enjoying it. It's great. I have landed on various bodies around the solar system, or Kerbal system. Anyways, I desperately am waiting for them to fix the maneuver nodes. There are bugs in the maneuver nodes, so you can like plan out intercepts and everything. Normally not a big deal. I can hit orbiting bodies and everything else easily enough because I know orbital mechanics, but when I'm trying to rendezvous 2 ships and dock them in orbit, I can do it, but it takes about 3 times as long as it should because the maneuver nodes are not great yet. So like that's stopping me a little bit from really exploring because like to go out to the Jupiter equivalent and everything, you really kind of want to put up a couple of things and then dock them so that you can refuel and everything else. And right now that's a bit of a nightmare in the game. So I've been not playing it as much as I could have, but it's super cool. Loving the graphics upgrades. Loving the new wings and everything else. I upgraded my graphics card to a 4070 the day that it came out. Well, technically the night before it came out. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt because I know a lot of people aren't able to play very well. They're using older graphics cards. So the game did effectively cost me like $1,300 Canadian. But worth it. Kerbal is the best game I've ever played and continues to be the best game I've ever played. So
even better than Tibia?
Tibia was the most addictive.
Or Morris Cave?
Wow. Okay. Morris Cave. I don't know. Tibia was more addictive than Kerbal, but no, Kerbal's better. Yeah. Kerbal's better.
So I was going to say, because obviously Kerbal isn't really my kind of game.
What?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a dumbass, so I don't have the, I'm not, it's just not my game. But what do you consider like the biggest differences between the first and the second one so far anyway?
At the moment, the biggest difference is that KSP2 is buggy as shit.
Early access and
so right now, so to be clear, if you are not a major KSP1 fan, there is 0 point in getting KSP2 right now unless you just plan to buy it and leave it in your library until it's more complete. Because the price will go up when early access ends.
So is like the UI all the same and stuff too?
No, mostly.
That, yeah?
Well, there are some distinct upgrades. So I would say that there are like probably half a dozen or so quality of life upgrades that are like, oh, come on, that was desperately needed. But then about 20 bugs that kind of like tip the scales and make it like it is not a better game than KSP1.
Yeah.
But after a handful of bug fixes and after the next major update, you bet your ass it'll be better. So, for instance, you can actually build multiple ships in the vehicle assembly building, which you never could before. You had one root component, and that was it. So it used to be like building a rocket with a lander in it as a payload was a bit of a faff. You could do sub-assemblies and you could get it to work, but it was a pain in the ass. Whereas now, you build your rocket, and then beside it, you build your lander. And then when you're done, you just take your lander and put it in the rocket. Done. Huge upgrade. And there's other things like that like actually the resource transfer that everybody's saying you can't get to actually works way better than the old one. So that's good too. But at the same time, you know, sometimes your rocket will just explode for no reason. So, you know, giveth and take.
I hated when that happens.
The one that when I was doing the live stream, which I'm going to chop it up a bit and throw clips of it up on the channel. But the one time that I was undocking, trying to land on the moon, it just blew up my rocket. And then I discovered that if I angled my rocket, angled it so that it was parallel to the ground, then it didn't seem to blow up my rocket. But things like that, just it's buggy as shit, but it will be much better. In the long term, they're going to add multiplayer, which is going to be amazing. And they're going to add interstellar travel, which will be amazing. But for now, it's a prettier, crappier version of KSP1.
So did you find that the music made it harder?
That was a wonderful segue. So I saw this, actually, I forget even what site I saw this on.
Lifehacker.
Lifehacker, that's right. Yeah. There was an article talking about game music making your game harder, and it's true. I read a little bit of the article. It was actually a little bit slapdash, if I do say so. But I know some of the underlying details around this phenomenon. Well, that's a long ass URL. Jeez.
I will shorten that one.
Chad just posted it into the doc, and it's like this long. Anyways, so people have been noticing. This article was written by somebody who's noticed that some people mute the game when they're in a particularly difficult spot because it helps them get through it. And this is very true. Modern games have like stress tracks is what I sort of refer to them as, where you're in a boss fight, so the music changes to be like boss fighty, which is fine and it's immersive and it's cool, but it also actually disrupts your concentration. Back in the day, and there have been a bunch of like psychology papers and everything else written on this, most of the Mario Brothers music and everything else, like a lot of that stuff was specifically designed to not screw with your concentration. Tetris is a great example where the music does not screw with your concentration.
Well, when it gets closer to the top and it just goes faster.
Right.
Then it's kind of like shit.
Yeah, well, but the entire game runs faster. So like the loop always matches the tempo of the game, whereas in modern games that's not true. The game doesn't speed up, but the music does. Yeah. And that throws you off because one of the things that you do is you use the game music as essentially a metronome. You pace, like in Mario Brothers, if you are playing a game of Mario Brothers and then you just change the music before a jump, you're more likely to miss the jump.
Oh, I want to try that now.
Yeah. This was one of the studies that I saw a long time ago. Don't ask me to find it. I maybe I'll manage, but I'm not going to spend much time looking for it. But they ran a test and they would play the Mario Brothers theme song, and then like just before certain jumps, they would change the music, and the miss rate went massively up because your brain uses that backing track as a metronome. And in modern games, that's harder because they don't tend to loop like they used to. Yeah. They're actually scored soundtracks, and they tend to change tempo and everything else. With Tetris, not really a problem because it gradually speeds up as the level goes, but the metronome effect still works. And so that actually legitimately screws with your ability to play the game.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd be able to make music in the same way quite as well, like currently now anyway, because gameplay is a lot more dynamic than it was before. It's taken a lot more of a movie standpoint, both music and in gameplay itself.
So the one example that the writer of this article referenced was they were playing Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, which is a FromSoft game, so it's hard. It's one of those, it's a Souls-like. And there was a boss battle. It was a 2-part boss fight against a sword fight against an enemy called Genshiro Ashina. And he said that it was a major roadblock for him. And after dozens of failed attempts, he searched for some tutorials, and then somebody had mentioned just to turn the in-game music off. He did that and said it actually made it easier because he found he was able to focus more on learning the pattern, the attacks, and all that stuff. Yep. And it makes a lot of sense.
Incidentally, this is also why you and many other people really like games like Metal Hellsinger, because the entire game is built around embracing that metronomic effect.
Yeah. Hi-Fi Rush just did that as well. Yeah. Again, another Game Pass game that was released recently. That's a Devil May Cry, but it has that rhythmic attacking hack and slash beat to it. So.
Yeah, and so like this is a very well-known thing. The music that is playing affects your ability to react to what's in the game. Both because if the music is distracting you, I mean, if you're playing death metal while trying to play a game, that's probably going to distract the shit out of you, unless you happen to be super into death metal, which is cool. But also, if the tempo of the music doesn't match the tempo of the game, which match is a bit of a nebulous term there, but if they don't match, then that does actually create a bit of dissonance. And it'll throw you right the hell off.
Well, I just want to clarify, because I was looking through this article just now as well. they didn't turn down the sound in the games. They turned off the music.
Yes,
so they
what I
still
said.
had all the audio, well, just the
good
way that
clarification.
Adrian.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so they still had all the audio cues on, which when you were first talking, like, ooh, I use audio cues a lot when I'm playing. So, but yeah, they left those on, which makes sense.
It's almost always the music, because of course the sound effects, theoretically at least, match with what's happening in the game. If they didn't, that would also be really distracting. But
Well, even like this kind of makes sense too, and I actually might go and try this with Elden Ring, because like I love Elden Ring. It's a fantastic game. But yeah, like in some boss fights when they go to another stage and then the music kind of changes and becomes this grand thing, and you're like, oh fuck, you know. So it's 100%. I really want to try this now.
yeah, it makes a big difference, or at least it can make a big difference. Yeah, there's lots of studies that have been done. So like I only skimmed the article, but when I saw the article title, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I actually know a bit about that. That is a well-known phenomenon, and modern games are especially guilty of doing it poorly. I mean, it's not. It's just, as Sarah was saying, and you phrased it well, is like, it's just different, right? Like modern games, they don't have the simple control scheme, and they don't have, you can't really like loop a soundtrack to a modern game that really works well. So instead they go for scores, and that's great. It sounds awesome and the immersion's awesome, but it can screw with your ability to actually play.
Even in like the old Resident Evil games, when you would get into like a kind of suspenseful a suspenseful moment, the music would always be like dun 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 dun,
Yep.
dun dun,
Yeah.
and you're like, because it would instinctively make you like start freaking out, and you're like shit, and you're like the tank controls, and you're trying to turn and hit the right, damn shit, oh shit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's absolutely a thing. So yeah, it's worth trying. Like if you are struggling with a boss fight, it is actually worth turning the music off. I actually play a lot of games with the music off, because there are certain games that I find the music elevates, but a lot of games I'm like, I'll listen to my own damn music. Thank you very much.
There's Skyrim I played with no music because I wanted the world to be my soundtrack.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
like sights and sounds, like you could hear like enemies. If somebody was or something was approaching you, you'd be like, huh? And okay, gotcha. And Horizon, I turned the music off in both Horizon games as well.
Oh, I never noticed that.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah. Because there's some games, I can't remember which one, but there were some games where the music would kind of fuck up the loading of the game. So it did this weird thing where it would cause a bit of slowdown whenever the music would change. Like it was an open world game. I can't think of it offhand at the moment, but you'd be going somewhere and then you'd get into a fight and the music would change and it would cause like a stutter in like gameplay.
Sure.
And then and then the music would kick in and everything would go back to normal. But then once it died down, it would kind of stutter again. So I killed the music on it and it completely got rid of that.
That's
and I wish I could remember the game. It was a recent one and I can't remember what it was now.
Bugs.
Yeah. I want to say it was Ghost of Tsushima, but I don't think it was.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I will say one of the things that I did at one point when I was playing Skyrim, which this would work better if the game had it built in somehow. But I actually set up with a Stream Deck. This was when I used to subscribe to Epidemic Sound, where I now subscribe to Artlist, if anyone's curious. They have all kinds of like nature ambience. So while you're playing Skyrim, you can just have like, instead of doing the music, just to like kick it up a notch, you can be like, I'm in a forest, play me some forest.
I mean, there's literally mods for that one too.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like Skyrim, of course, if you can think of something, there's a mod for it, which is one of the reasons why it's such a great game still, because it's modded to hell. But that was something that I did way back when I was playing Skyrim, and there was one other game that I did it with as well. And it adds a lot of ambience, just instead of having music, having legitimate like ambience.
Even in the soundtrack, because I love the Skyrim soundtrack. It's on my reading playlist for especially fantasy books. The Skyrim Atmospheres. It's a 45-minute track, and it's like light piano, just kind of like the stuff that's happening when you're out running around the world. But there's a lot of nature sound in the background of that one as well, and that one's really nice.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I can't wait to play the Skyrim remastered version on the PS6 and the Xbox Series XXX.
Damn right.
I can't wait.
Series porn. Yeah, I do wonder what Microsoft's going to call the next Xbox. Like, their naming schemes are just fucking atrocious, which is so weird to me, actually, because Windows, they decided a while back to stop with the bullshit. They went to Windows 10 and then 11.
Well, they can't because PlayStation's doing that.
I suppose.
Yeah.
PlayStation and literally everything else in the world is doing it. Yeah, it's just so weird. Like, yeah. What's the next one going to be? Series Y.
X-Balls.
Yeah, X-Balls.
X-Balls.
Do either of you remember what I told you to not let me forget to talk about tonight?
I thought it was this.
Was it this?
Was it I thought you didn't want to talk about it because it was something that you weren't sure about. Was it the deals thing?
Oh, yeah. No, that's exactly what it was.
Oh, okay.
Xbox store deals. I read an article a little while ago that talked about for you deals on the Xbox store. And if you've seen the article, you can ignore what I'm about to say. These are deep discounts that are specific to you. So these are, you'll happen to be browsing the Xbox store or the Windows store. And FIFA will be 80% off just for you. And they're inconsistent. And when I initially read the article, I was like, oh, that looks super cool. So I went looking because I thought maybe it's not in Canada, maybe it's whatever. Couldn't find any. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to talk about this on the podcast because I who knows if this is legitimate or not. Maybe it's specific to region or something. But I have seen them since. I got there were like 5. Xbox doesn't know me very well yet, so they were all kind of dumb recommendations. But
you don't like FIFA?
I don't play FIFA, and if I was going to, I don't know that I'd spend the money on the latest. Well, I suppose it was cheap, so maybe I would. But
it's football.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a sports game person. I've never got into them. Anyways, they exist. They're in Canada. I can recommend that you take a look on the Xbox store. They don't announce them. They don't tell you about them or anything else. They just happen to be there when you're looking. And this is not
very sneaky.
Yeah, very sneaky. Yeah, this is not, to be clear, the deals for you, which is just a collection of deals that they think you'll like. This is the price will actually say like just for you or for you. I forget what it is. And it'll be like a special price and significant discount specific to your account. So keep What the hell was that?
Goal.
Oh, goal. I thought you said yo. I thought you were like falling.
I can't wait till you start playing FIFA.
I don't want to play FIFA.
We're going to peer pressure you into playing FIFA now.
No. I don't want to play FIFA. I'll only play FIFA if we live stream it and one of you plays with me.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Damn, I thought that might work.
Yeah. On that cheerful note.
Yeah. I don't think there was anything else. That was exactly what I wanted to remember, so thank you.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't remember anything. There has not been... This podcast has turned into a video game podcast, and that is not an intentional thing.
No.
There just has not been a lot of board game stuff of interest. I mean, we've called out a couple of Kickstarters lately and everything else, but there's not a lot going on that I've seen in the world of board games.
I mean, Wizards has done some more 1D&D stuff, and I think there was a new campaign book that just came out recently,
Yes.
but...
What was that Humble bundle you were telling us about?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I gotta find it.
Was
again,
it Humble
sorry.
or was it something
It was
else?
a Humble bundle. It was to help the Turkey. If anybody knew that has heard about the earthquakes that hit Turkey and Syria, it caused quite a fair bit of devastation to those countries. Humble's doing a bundle, and all of the proceeds are going to help support the people of Turkey and Syria. It is and I found the thing on my Gaming Clan forum. It is the Turkey-Syria Earthquake Relief Bundle.
Yep.
Yeah, there are a lot of good items on this. Pathfinder, they have the core book for Kingmaker, and as well as the Starfinder Core rulebook. Saga, the comic series, if anybody's ever want to read a good comic series, Saga is definitely one I highly recommend. They have the first 10 volumes available. If you pay at least $40.18 Canadian, which I'm sure that's less than American. Gotham Knights is on there, Ghost Runner, XCOM 2. There's a ton of games on here.
There's Monaco and Zombie Driver, both of which I have and are decent games. It's $30 US. And yeah, I actually will probably pick this one up because I actually wanted the Kingmaker Pathfinder stuff anyways. This seems like a good time to get it. Thank you for
And it goes towards a good thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So, always good.
We'll put a link down there for y'all, but definitely check that out and help the people over there. They need that help. There's a good cause.
Yeah.
So
yeah. With that, we'll say good night or good day or good morning
good
or
afternoon for us.
That's the one that I didn't say.
In the future past.
Good
I was gonna
grief.
say, yeah. From the future, looking back, it's the afternoon, morning, yesterday. All right,
My head hurts.
Tell 3 friends, like and subscribe, and let us know A, if you liked Atomic Heart, which we assume you didn't.
B, why?
B, why? And C, let me know. I'm actually curious. We're gonna start posting some more short stuff on the channel. For now, we're gonna keep the subscriber feed turned off on those videos. But I am actually curious how many people who are watching the podcast would like us to actually send those out. The only difference is you don't get the notification. So Let us know. Cheers. We'll talk to you next time.
Totally.
Bye.
Atomic Heart is such bullshit.
Fuck Atomic Heart.